after the long introductions for John and myself, I wanted to introduce our third panelist coming up. I'm pleased that Garrett Reisman, the Director of Crew Operations at SpaceX, is also here to talk about the progress that SpaceX is making on its development and certification efforts. Garrett's alma maters and his career path are equally as impressive. He received 2 Bachelor of Science degrees from the University of Pennsylvania, first in economics and then in mechanical engineering and applied mechanics. He then went on to the California Institute of Technology for his master's degree and then a doctorate in mechanical engineering. Garrett has flown 2 space shuttle missions, STS-123 and STS-132, during which he logged more than 3 months in space. In his current role, Garrett is responsible for all crew interfaces with the Falcon 9 rocket and Crew Dragon spacecraft, including displays, controls, and spacesuits. So thank you both for being here today. And sitting here on the stage, I'll try to be quick on my part, and then we'll get to those. I was a little nervous when they're showing me before. They're showing the example of how folks can type in their questions, because it was the commercial crew panel was like the example. So I'm a little worried you guys have been, for the last 2 hours, thinking of questions for us. So I want to give us a little bit extra time at the end. First of all, thank you, Pat, for, there she is. Pat, for inviting us here today. Over yesterday and this morning, as I was sitting there, I realized that, you know, a good conference means that you have great conversations. But a great conference means that those conversations build on each other. And it's been really interesting how the conversations have been building on each other as we've been progressing through the conference. There's a couple things that kind of struck me as I sat and listened to Pam and Greg and Alexander yesterday. First was, you know, I realized 10 years ago, oh, and then when folks were, Greg's remarks with the CRS panel this morning, 10 years ago, when we were looking at shuttle retirement, and we in the station program were really trying to figure out what we were going to do to be able to have crew or cargo services post-shuttle retirement, it was a little bit of a Hail Mary pass that for us to go and really depend on industry to be able to provide those capabilities for us. And it was, you know, I had, I think, 7 years of my life spent working with the folks that were up here today on the cargo services. And it's really a testament to them that here we are today acting like this is just no big deal. We're flying cargo. Hey, guess what? We're returning spacecraft. We're returning payloads. We're flying powered cargo. Those are all things that when we started kind of developing and thinking of strategies, people weren't really sure we were going to get there, and it's really a testimony that we have gotten there. The second thing that I've realized is, you know, where 10 years ago, this was about NASA space, our government space, and then we started to move into the traditional space, and then the new space. But really what's happening now is this is about our space. And really, I think the next 10 years is going to be about how that R becomes all of us. And so how we're getting more people into the fold for going and accomplishing what we need to be able to go do. Because the issues we have and the problems we need to solve are hard, and we need the best and the brightest out there to jump in and help us solve them. And so the problem we've been trying to solve is how to move on from and build off of what we've been doing with cargo to then move into finally returning human spaceflight back to the US. Good, it's always such a relief when the button works. So, you know, it's like the whole presentation could be going south if that wasn't working. So first of all, you know, I wanted to talk a little bit about really the power, excuse me, the power of government and industry partnerships. So a lot of people said, you know, why did you go this way? Why did you go with a strategy where you're investing in industry and then depending on them to provide what's really critical capabilities? And really what we felt like was this was a way for us to leverage off of the NASA capability, to really leverage that into industry's capability. And as you'll see, as we do this, we're really facilitating that development of safe, reliable, and cost-effective transportation capabilities. You saw today, just in the presentations that were done this morning, how people are out there, industries out there, really trying to bring their launch solutions and into a realm that's as cost-effective as possible. And that is really what enables the our space aspect of our future. The other key thing is we really want to make sure that we're starting to lay the groundwork for future spaceflight by developing kind of a structure of requirements, standards, and technologies that then industry and the government can kind of build off of. We also wanted to get in the best and brightest in industry to help us with what is the most efficient and effective manufacturing and business operating techniques. You know, when we were developing the initial ISS integration requirements, what I learned was the most valuable aspect of the development of that requirements was the fact that we had to negotiate those with 5 different companies. When you have to negotiate a set of requirements with 5 different companies, you really have to defend your requirements. And it was interesting to see how the same requirement, you would have 2 different points of view, and it really caused you to have to understand why you built that requirement, where the requirement came from, and then how to phrase the requirement in a way that enables industry to offer their unique solutions to that. One thing that was very important in the outset of our cargo development and transportation concepts and then moving into crew transportation is this idea that we wanted to enable business to own and operate their solutions. There was a lot of discussion about, well, what's the government getting out of this? You know, you're giving your money away. What's the government getting out of this? What the government's getting out of this is an industry. It ends up being really greater than what just NASA's getting out of it. It's really developing an industrial base that then we can go use and leverage to be able to help us with our next issues and problems that we have. Another key aspect of this is it's both about government and industry sharing investment in time, money, and resources. If you allow industry to have a reason to invest by allowing them to be able to own and operate the service, then it incentivizes them to actually invest in the capability along with the government. And finally, we really wanted to make sure that what we've learned, what NASA's learned from 50 years, we can share with industry, but honestly, through that sharing and through the interaction that we've had, we're also able to learn from industry and continue to kind of build our database of knowledge to help not only industry, but NASA build solutions as we're moving forward. And then really over the last 10 years, there's really been this concept in government, and everybody yesterday was calling it the P word. From a policy perspective, it's about how do you really leverage for every dollar of government investment, and really the country's investing in NASA. So NASA as an agency has to think about what do we take, when we're taking money away from something else, how do we leverage that money to really enable and help industry and the country in the best way we can. And so we really feel like by using our money to then be able to leverage off of that to enable industry and develop a future industrial base and capabilities and markets for our economy, that is a way we can use the money that really the country is investing in us to help the country. So commercial crew. So how has all this applied then to commercial crew? Well, we have real examples of how the work that we've done, and really the work that these companies have done to make themselves be cost effective has realized itself in a real benefit to us with the seat pricing that we've received. You know, for us to be able to get an individual seat price that is more cost effective currently than our Soyuz pricing is very, very important to us. And so it's a real testament to both of these companies that they're able to propose that, and will be working to be able to continue to meet that pricing as they move forward. The other thing, and I don't think people realize, you know, we could have, when we started our cargo and crew transportation concepts, we could have just put a requirement set out there that was similar to the capabilities we had. If we would have done that in 2008, what that would have meant was we only had pressurized cargo. We would have only had 3 seats, and really that would have limited our science capability on the International Space Station. Industry has really stepped up and provided us powered payload capability, both up and down in the portfolio we have, which was unheard of prior to 2008 timeframe when we awarded the first CRS contract. Both our crew transportation providers also provide that powered payload capability, which is really key when you're talking about understanding and getting research back from station and being able to retain that zero-G science benefit. The other thing is, with us having 4 crew members, we're able to double the amount of crew time on station, which is huge. I mean, you saw Greg yesterday was talking about what allocation he has and how what this capability then enables for him to be able to provide to his customers is huge. The other thing is, you know, we talk a lot about turning over low Earth orbit and allowing industry to provide that capability for us while we move into our journey to Mars. But really, for us to really be able to move on and be able to accomplish what we need to do over the next 20 years, it's really going to take all of us. We still need to have industry out there developing innovative solutions for the different parts of the missions. You know, you saw a little bit today. I was glad Orbital ATK talked about new capabilities for their Cygnus, their PCM modules. I was happy to see Mark Sarangelo talk about, you know, what other capabilities you have with the Dream Chaser. SpaceX, I know, is already looking at other activities that they can be doing to further exploration. This is going to take all of us to really further our goals of moving out to space and continuing to be spacefarers in the future. And then the last, I mean, you can just see, I have a visual there that talks about, with the commercial crew investment, just what the fingerprints that these companies have on the country and how much involvement is there just through the investment that the commercial crew program's making. I thought it was very interesting yesterday, Greg was talking about, we really want to be working, or someone was talking about, we really want to be working to have every state have the capability to be able to build small satellites. Well, that's huge, right? That's something that we wouldn't have heard about a few years ago, and that's really what's moving us toward this being about our space. So I talked a little bit about what can happen in 10 years, but let me tell you, a lot can also happen in 1 year. 2 weeks ago, I think we had our 1-year commercial crew transportation capability contract award. We awarded to SpaceX and Boeing. You know, we've been working, obviously, with SpaceX and Boeing over this last year, really as they develop and test and further their crew transportation capabilities. And the best part of the next, 30 minutes is going to be hearing really what they've been doing to return the launch of our crew and return of our crew back to U.S. soil. So through robust insight and oversight, sometimes they're probably feeling like very robust. We've been working with them to really understand how they're meeting our safety and performance requirements. We've begun the ordering for the guaranteed post-certification missions. This is pretty exciting. Each of the companies have 2 demonstration missions in their certification portion of the contract, both an uncrewed and a crewed demonstration mission. But in addition to that, we awarded to Boeing a post-certification mission last May, and we're in the process of awarding to SpaceX their first post-certification mission, and then we'll be in the process of awarding to Boeing their second one. I don't want everybody getting freaked out. They're both gonna get 2, and just what's driving the time frame is really the lead time for them to be able to have those missions and supporting our crew rotation flights in 2018. We've been building on NASA's partnerships with other programs. The commercial crew program, as we've been working through, and as we're moving into the license phase, which is the crew rotation missions will be licensed, FAA licensed. Obviously, we have to work with not only our sister programs, Launch Services Program and the International Space Station Program, but we also have to work with other agencies like the FAA, working with the NTSB, the Air Force, and DoD, making sure we're partnering to build and deliver this capability. And then the astronauts have begun reconfiguring the International Space Station for a commercial crew spacecraft visiting the orbiting laboratory. So I'm going to let the guys talk about the hardware and flow, but really what's been critical is the International Space Station program has been getting the international docking adapters ready to fly on the cargo resupply missions, and really those are what's going to enable the docking for our crew transportation vehicles. The launch site infrastructure and processing facilities along Florida Space Coast, these folks have been working on them, and you'll be able to see, it's nice to be able to see actual pictures and hardware starting to move into those facilities. And we selected the group of US astronauts that will be our pool of crew members that will be picked for the crew demonstration missions. And I have to have a video too, so sorry.
We've come to this program with different backgrounds and different experiences.
We have a chance to build upon a new launch capability for America.
We're part of a partnership, and part of the partnership is to have different abilities, and so the United States having access is extremely important to the effort.
One of the things that really gave us the opportunity to be ready for this is all those systems on the space station or on the space shuttle that we had to learn in order to be prepared for a space flight. So it really has set us up for a mindset of learning new things and being ready for whatever comes at us.
We have a huge team here at NASA, as well as the great teams at SpaceX and Boeing that we'll work with to try to make this vehicle as safe as possible.
Building that partnership, that relationship where we are shoulder to shoulder with these companies as they build this vehicle is really going to be how we're instrumental in making sure the vehicles are ready for the first flights when the time comes.
I'm honored to get the opportunity to participate with this new group and to work with the team to get us onto this next era in spaceflight.
I remember when I launched from Kennedy the first time on a US space shuttle, and it was pretty amazing. So I can only imagine what it's going to be like after this long period of time to get back on a spacecraft at Kennedy and have all family and friends and people from all over the country watching. That's going to be pretty special. And so bringing back home will bring that back home to everybody here. It'll be a pretty exciting moment.
So it's pretty exciting to see the people you're going to be transporting. You know, it's a big responsibility. And so those folks are there. They're working with the team. Then our NASA teams are working with our partners and really moving. And we're excited to be seeing the progress that they're going to be making. So next, oh, guys are way ahead of me. So, but I also wanted to emphasize, it's one of the things that I've really grown to appreciate over the last 7-8 years of working with industry is that continuing to obviously we're working to bring crew transportation capabilities back to the US with Boeing and SpaceX, But the Commercial Crew Program continues to have a relationship both with Blue and with Sierra Nevada. And I will tell you that those relationships are critical to us, because that's really what also enables us to continue to have the relationship with industry as they're going through their development aspects and continuing to learn as they're working through their issues. And so we will be working with Mark's team as they're working through their drop test. We're very happy to be continuing that Space Act agreement with them and be working with them, because we learn as they are learning. And this continuous learning aspect is really what enables us to be the best partners with the industry that we can be. In addition, it's exciting to see Blue and continue to work with Blue as they continue to evolve and expand their industry partnerships. And our team has been very excited to follow along and work with them as they're making progress. So obviously we still have challenges. I thought maybe Wayne would ask me a question if I just addressed our 2016 funding. We're obviously working through our 2016 funding, and we're confident that hopefully that we'll be, hopefully, as I said, that we're confident that we'll be getting the funding that we need to be able to continue and maintain the progress that these companies are making as we move forward. The other thing, and I haven't really heard, is another policy aspect. We've been really working with the FAA and our stakeholders to make sure that we've got language in the Commercial Space Launch Act to add a government astronaut category. It's an important language for us to ensure that the role of the government aspect is understood by both the companies and ourselves as we're moving into the post-certification mission phases. And finally, obviously it's a huge challenge for us to be working with both these companies, but that's a challenge that we're looking forward to.